Welcome to LatinCast, your Brazilian social media network here in the States. We're so glad that you are along for the ride. And today I'm so excited because I have such an amazing guest. It's actually a privilege. He's actually the mayor of the city that most Brazilians live in, South Carolina. Yeah, that's right. You heard me right. Goose Creek, a city of about 50,000 people. And we are, as Brazilians, close to 15,000 people within the vicinity of this city. And I have here, nonetheless, the mayor of Goose Creek, Mayor Greg Habib. Thank you so much for making the time and being here with us.
No, happy to do so, Glacy. Thank you for being interested in what we're doing here. It's all good.
Definitely. Tell us a little bit, who is Greg Habib?
Well, that's not that hard of an answer. I tell people, that I am first and foremost the husband to my wife, a very remarkable woman. I am the parent to my children. I am the grandparent to my one grandson and soon to be one granddaughter.
There you go.
I am a business person in our community, and I'm the mayor of the city of Goose Creek. So the mayor is not necessarily who I am. It's something that I do. It is a service. I believe that that we are making a difference here in what we're doing, and in order to affect the change that I felt was necessary in our community, running for mayor was what I kind of had to do. I've lived here since 1982. I moved here in 1982. Got here the same way that many of my friends got here. My father was in the Navy, and Goose Creek has historically been a Navy town. A lot of military presence, still today, a lot of military presence in the city of Goose Creek. But when I graduated from Goose Creek High School and went away to college, you could have told me that I was going to move back to Goose Creek, and I would have said, there's no way I'm ever moving back to Goose Creek. It was a lot smaller then, obviously. There wasn't a lot of things going on for young people. I don't mean teenagers. I mean young family people.
That's right.
But my wife and I had an opportunity back in Charleston, and through some circumstances, we ended up in Goose Creek. And we ended up buying our first house in Goose Creek, buying our second house in Goose Creek, and now we are on our third house in Goose Creek.
There you go.
But what we recognized through those years here is, yes, it was a great place to raise a family, and really was, and still is, a great place to raise our kids. I wanted to create a Goose Creek that our kids wanted to come back to, that there was a place that they would want to come and live and raise their family, or other young people would want to come and live and raise their family. And there were some things that we were lacking in that process. And so, in just looking around and seeing those things, we wanted to create some opportunities to do that.
How long if I'm not mistaken, how long has it been that you're the mayor now? I know you're.
So I was elected to city council in 2016, and I ran for mayor in 2018 and won the election in 2018. So I'm just over 6 years as the mayor here.
And we've seen tremendous change, because I remember I got here in 2008,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree with you. Goose Creek. My first thought was like, I don't want to come back here. I mean, this place, I got here, it took a while to grow in it. But one thing that my wife and we always agreed on, there is no place in the world that we would rather have a family to raise.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and we are. It's. I think I was telling you earlier, a couple of years ago, Money Magazine named Goose Creek the best place to live and raise a family in South Carolina, and it is. And we continue to pride ourselves on being that kind of place. But we also wanted to create more, not just because of what made it great then, but what's going to make it great moving on for the next generation of people. We're very focused here in Goose Creek, and I will give the previous administration credit for keeping the focus of municipal government on the essential services. So, and we are very focused on the essential services: police, fire, water, sanitation, recreation. So we have a very robust police department. We have an outstanding fire department. Our sanitation guys are the best in the business. We deliver clean water to our residents, and we are as committed to recreation as any community I've seen, and I've seen a lot. Where do you build community? Where is community fostered? The idea of community. It is through recreation. That's how you do it, right?
Okay.
And so what we've tried to do, and what my goal has been, is to create as many opportunities for people to leave their home, go where other people are, and fellowship, and get to know one another, and participate in an event where they can take pride in their community.
I read somewhere, I can't recall the source of the information, but Goose Creek seems to be one of the most diverse cities within South Carolina, I would say. And I don't know if that was intentional or not intentional, by design or not, but we are the most, I would say, because I travel quite a bit, and I don't see as much diversity in other places as we see here.
So I try to tell people, there's been a perception of the city of Goose Creek from outside that has not been true for a number of years, and so that people didn't realize what the city of Goose Creek was. Exactly what we were.
Explain that a little better.
Well, we had a reputation that maybe it wasn't quite as nice as it was.
Okay.
People just unfamiliar with this coming up this way on Highway 52, or didn't realize that what Goose Creek was. They may have heard something bad. I don't know, but we also historically had not communicated with the rest of the Tri-County area. Our big efforts, one of my big efforts as becoming mayor, was engaging with the rest of this region. Because in order to get economic growth, in order to get people to invest in your community, they have to know what your community is.
That's right.
And so we started getting to know everybody in the Tri-County area and beyond. And I tell people all the time, Goose Creek is highly diverse, highly educated, high earning, and very young. Now, why are those things important? Well, obviously diverse is very important. It wasn't by design. It just happened. Well, I say it just happened. When you're a military city built by the military is a very diverse melting pot of people.
That's right.
And I don't know who, Lacey, but somebody was the first Brazilian family to come here.
We're about to find out.
You know what I mean?
We don't know how, but
somebody was the first Brazilian family to come here. But if you go back and you look at the military, go back to the military and this area, when I went to high school, Goose Creek High School was incredibly diverse. And so we still are and still have been. And we've grown in our Hispanic and Brazilian population. Obviously, as you know, we're about 10% Hispanic right now in the city of Goose Creek. So the diverse is very important, and it lends to economic growth. And then when you talk about, well, okay, we're highly diverse. We're also highly educated. Our citizenry is more educated than the average citizenry, whether that's a college degree, a trade, whatever, those kind of things. Our citizenry is more educated than the average citizenry. We are high earning. The median income in Goose Creek is second in the Charleston area to Mount Pleasant. It's higher than Somerville, higher than Charleston, higher than North Charleston. It is second to Mount Pleasant. And then when I say we're very young, Mount Pleasant has a higher median income than Goose Creek, but they also have a much higher median age than Goose Creek.
Right.
Theirs is 40, ours is 33. I don't know about you, but when I was 30, I made less money than I made when I was 40.
Absolutely.
So as we grow, that income level is going to continue to grow. And so we have worked very hard to change the narrative of what Goose Creek is, and to control the narrative of what Goose Creek is. So every opportunity I have, I tell people, highly diverse, high earning, very young, and highly educated. And when you have that, and then you go to a developer and you say, look, we'd like for you to consider a project here, or somebody comes in and they think, well, we want to do a project in Goose Creek because maybe they bought the land cheaper than they thought I'd get it, whatever the reason is. And we say, okay, here's what we're looking for as a community. They go, oh, well, that might not be what I wanted to do. Well, wait a minute. Here's all the data of our city. Here's all the people that live in our city and around our city. Here's why we believe this project will work. And we've partnered with folks in creating those opportunities for economic growth, and we've been very successful in that. The Brazilian community is an example of success in and around our community and in the entrepreneurial spirit that has been successful. There is a significant Brazilian-owned and operated business community in and around our city. And so, when you're able to get the message out of what your city actually is and people buy in, then you start to see the economic growth that we've had. And we've had significant economic growth.
Well, you were talking about all the characteristics of Goose Creek as the positive things, but I'm sure a lot of challenges come with trying to get there or becoming who you envision it to be, right? If we could talk about challenges, what are the main pinpoints or strain points that you face right now in the city of Goose Creek with the growth that we're experiencing?
Well, the obviously, we talked about it earlier. Traffic is a challenge,
right?
But the challenge of traffic is not necessarily the traffic itself. The challenge of traffic is the perception that the general population has.
That's true.
About traffic, about the impact on traffic, and what traffic means to growth. So the biggest challenge we have relative to that is to try to continue to communicate and educate people on what good planning principles are. As we discussed earlier, if you recognize that you have to grow, all right, there's every economic law ever tells you have to grow. So that's number one, you have to grow. You recognize that. Then you have to figure out how you grow. And how you grow in a way that mitigates traffic as much as you can. But good planning means you put people and jobs and retail and recreation all within the same place so that you meet more of your needs within your own community. So if you don't have to leave Goose Creek to go to a restaurant, or you don't have to leave Goose Creek to go buy clothes, or if you don't have to leave Goose Creek to go to a hardware store or to go to work, we have improved your life, your quality of life.
Absolutely.
You've spent less time in your car, and we've also improved traffic in other areas because you're not leaving the city of Goose Creek. Economic growth is not only important for Goose Creek, but it's important for every area around us. I personally believe the best way to attack the traffic problem is through economic growth, by putting the needs of people where they live. So if we grow in the city and put 100 housing units somewhere right here in the middle, the traffic impact that makes is almost zero. It's not zero, but it's almost zero, compared to the 100,000 cars a day that drive through our city to get to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we need to take advantage of those 100,000 cars a day by putting businesses in our city that those folks will want to stop and spend their money. And then we, obviously would make the revenue off of that. So it's one of the biggest challenges is communicating what traffic means, what growth means, how you go about it. It's really communicating to people who only see the negative of growth and don't necessarily understand the positive of growth and the real negatives of not growing. So that's a huge problem, huge issue for us to continue to communicate that. The other challenges that we've had, quite frankly, are the same challenges that people in their own household face. Okay. We have had rampant inflation. The cost of running a city has skyrocketed. The cost of running a household. My wife and I are pretty fortunate. We can go to the grocery store and buy whatever we want. Our kids are grown and gone, and we do fine. So we're blessed that we don't really have to think about how much we spend at the grocery store.
Okay.
But we go to the grocery store and we buy a little bit of groceries and we see how much it is, and we wonder how in the world are young people with young kids feeding their family today. And those same issues that you face in your family, we face in this city. The cost of operating a city has skyrocketed, not because of growth, because of inflation. And the growth that we've experienced has been the one thing that's helped us mitigate that cost. What do I mean by that? Well, our revenue through hospitality tax, for example, has doubled in the last 5 years. It went from $1.5 million a year to $3 million a year. That revenue stream pays for a lot of recreational things here in and around our city. That revenue stream has doubled. That means our prepared food has more than doubled. Restaurants have grown and become more successful. We're selling more prepared food in a restaurant. That's that revenue stream. So that revenue stream has doubled. Yet our expenses, the cost of people, the cost of fire trucks, the cost of police cars, the cost of have doubled or more. The cost of health insurance, the cost of retirement, the cost of all of those things. So we've seen great economic growth. We've seen revenues go up in the city because of that economic growth. But the expenses that we've faced, when I became the mayor, our starting police officers made $36,000 a year. They're at about $52,000 a year right now. That's a 50% increase just in the salary. A police car, all decked out, we could buy for $25,000. That police car is now $50,000. It's doubled. Our retirement contribution for our employees has doubled. Health insurance has doubled. All of those things. And that is how does that manifest itself? What does that mean when we talk about a challenge? Is if you're still trying to create goods, trying to create places for people to congregate and grow recreation, if you're still trying to provide the highest level of service, we want to make sure everybody's trash still gets picked up on the day it's supposed to. We want to make sure that our police are able to respond in a timely manner. We want to make sure our firefighters have all the equipment they need to keep themselves safe and to keep our citizenry safe.
That's right.
And when you grow, obviously the expenses go up to some degree because you're servicing more area. But if you're growing properly, the revenue should offset that. That's how that should supposed to work. Growth should pay for itself. The economics of inflation have really been a challenge for our city.
Well, I'm glad that you were actually talking about this, because from the perspective of the citizen, we know when our checkbook, our needs are a lot less or a lot more than what we make at the end of the month. We can really feel the pinpoint there, but we don't think about the government in that sense, or the city in that sense. So it's interesting that you're talking about that, because we don't think about that.
No, because everybody thinks, I don't know what folks think, honestly, because a lot of people understand that we have to pay for the services that we provide, but a lot of people don't seem to understand how we pay for that.
That's right.
I find it funny. People yell at me about growth and about, all you care about is the money. Well, I mean, it's not all I care about, but I mean,
it's got to come from somewhere.
The revenue is important.
Yeah.
If you want our police to show up,
I agree.
If you want our fire trucks to show up, if you want a nice park to go to, that revenue has to come from somewhere. So, the money isn't all I care about. Certainly not. Here's what I'll tell you, and I believe this in my heart. The only thing I care about is the quality of life of the people who live in and around our city. That's the one thing I care about. How you affect that quality of life is everything else, right? So in everything we do, we think about what it means to live here. How good do we have it? How nice is it in our city? What is our quality of life? That's the only thing I care about. How we get to there is Well, you have a robust fire service, you have a robust police department, you have really good recreation, you have a really good sanitation department, you have clean water. Those are the things that affect your quality of life. Now, how do we pay for those things? Well, so when people say, oh, he cares about the money, well, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. Over the last 2 years, I've had a chance to travel quite substantially internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, I wasn't born here.
Sure.
I moved here. So I think that message, right, really, it makes us understand nobody likes to pay more taxes.
Right.
I mean, nobody does. But here's the thing. When you see those taxes actually working to your quality of life, to improving, the place you live, or as you were talking about, the structure around where you go,
mm-hmm.
you kind of think twice to say, okay, I don't like this, but at least I can rip the benefits of it.
Sure. I try to explain to people, again, I don't want to be political as much as I would explain our position is, I think we send too much money to Washington. I think we send too much money to Columbia. And 99% of the effect on your daily life comes from your city and county.
That's right.
All right. We have a greater impact on your life, the city and the county, and we are partners in this. The city and the county have a much greater impact on your daily life than the state and the federal government. Yet that's where all of our money goes.
Yeah.
So, I think conservative government should put more back into your locality so that we can actually really affect the people who live here. But anyway,
we appreciate what what the city has been able to do, and to your credit. And I know that you probably can get a lot of pushback, but for the time that I've been here in Goose Creek, I've noticed substantial change. I remember when you ran for office,
mm-hmm.
and I actually voted on that election, and I remember that the first change that I saw right after that change, I don't know how it worked out on your programming, if it was intentional or not, but I think you hired Natalie to be the city manager. And I started seeing little changes like that happening, mm-hmm. which streamlined. I don't know exactly how it worked out.
Let me make sure that we have that, because I don't want anybody to think anything about our former city administrator. So when I was elected mayor, a guy named Jake Broom was our city administrator.
Okay.
And Jake was the city administrator for about 2 years. And Jake, I always tell people that people are where they are. There's a reason they are where they are at the time they're there.
Yeah.
Jake was the perfect city administrator at the time that he was here, because he helped us get out of some I don't want to say financial problems, because we always paid our bills. We've always had clean audits, all that. But we were really short on money. Like, it was a problem. Like, how are we going to pay for the things moving forward? And so Jake was the perfect city administrator for that, because he was really good at where can we identify this and the like. And our rebranding started with Jake as our city administrator. All right. So if you saw the Creek Rising campaign that we did, Jake was our city administrator. That started with Jake. The whole new logo with the city, that started. Jake left to go to Columbia to work with the Municipal Association of South Carolina as their chief operating officer. So great job that he's really, really good at. When Jake left, I had met Natalie about maybe a year before Jake left. And I had seen what she'd done in Hartsville and got to know her a little bit. And when Jake left, I knew exactly who I wanted to go and hire. There was no question in my mind who I wanted to come and run this city, because of the success that she had in Hartsville, the transformation that Hartsville went under her leadership. Yeah. I knew exactly who I wanted. And we were very fortunate, very blessed that Natalie agreed to come. So, but that's really, we started on this.
Yeah.
And Jake and I mean, we're just dumb guys. We don't know what we're doing, right? We know what we want to do. And we had to start getting some things in motion and started to sort of create this attitude about this change that we wanted to see. And when I say people are where they are at the right time for a reason, Jake was the perfect guy for that time. And Natalie is the perfect city administrator for this time, because she was the perfect city administrator to take what we had been kicking around in our head and couldn't really figure out, to then take us into where
Well,
we've gone. So
in a personal way, I can relate to that because you're not seen, but Robinson is right here behind the camera. And Robinson and I, we've always talked about doing this podcast.
Mhm.
And we had to get a girl or a lady,
Mhm.
which is Tani, she's not here, to join the team so we could actually get
Yeah.
our thoughts
Yeah.
into process.
Yeah, because you're just as dumb as I am. I'm an idiot. I couldn't do any of this without it. So no, we needed to get smart people.
There you go.
I'm a very firm believer in young, smart people. Jake was a young, smart guy. Natalie is a very young, smart lady. We've got young, smart people throughout our organization. I'm the old guy, so I mean,
we're going to talk
good.
about some of the things that you are doing and the city's doing that is just off the chart.
Sure.
But before we go there, let's talk about a little bit about the Brazilian population and the growing needs, and just because I know that there is many questions in their minds of, I'm here, I moved here, I like this place, I have a community here. How can I do business here? What are the things that I can relate? Or one of the things that I hear this all the time, about being entrepreneurs. As you've seen, the spirit of the Brazilian community is really to just come in and open in businesses. I know sometimes we rush into it more than we should, but talk about that from your perspective as a mayor. How do you see that? What are the great things that you see, the challenge that you see? How can we improve as a community to work together?
So you've been a great, Glacy, you have been a great, conduit for our city and the Brazilian community, because you came and opened businesses and have been an entrepreneur here and went through the stages of what it means to open a business, how you do that, a building permit, when you renovated the building. So all of those things that we've got regulations and rules and codes that we have to follow and all of that. And so you acting as a conduit between our city and the rest of the Brazilian community has been very, very important and very helpful. And we certainly appreciate that very, very much.
Thank you.
And what that has done is, as you can see, as you drive into down Red Bank Road and around the area where there is more of a Brazilian presence, Brazilian businesses everywhere.
Yeah.
And they all seem to be successful, not just because the Brazilian community, but because I've driven down Red Bank Road and went, I want to go to the Brazilian steakhouse, and I want to go to the Brazilian bakery, and I want to go over to the Sky Market and pick up some meat. And so it is because our community, being a diverse community, and I don't care if you're white, black, Brazilian, Filipino, Hispanic, any of those things, we all live here.
That's right.
We all do. And in the Brazilian community, we have seen an entrepreneurial spirit that is greater than probably in many other communities and nationalities in our area. And so we want to embrace and leverage the Brazilian population and the Hispanic population in our city to ensure success for that population, for those businesses, because what does that do? It creates greater success and greater opportunity for the rest of the community, rest of the city. The Brazilian businesses pay taxes just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I feel like we've done a good job of that. I feel like we have tried. Have we been perfect? I'm sure not. But I feel like the effort is there to ensure that folks have the opportunity and information for success. And if you have the opportunity and the information for success, everything else is on you anyway.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
If we don't stand in your way, or if we create that or give you the opportunity, or not give you, but if you have the opportunity in our community and we're able to communicate the information necessary for you to open that business, then the rest of the success is on you, right? And what I would say is this community has supported all of those businesses. Like I said, you can't open you're not going to open a business in Goose Creek as a Brazilian and relying just on the Brazilian community to buy your product. You're not going to make it, right? So where does their success come from? It's come from us being a diverse community.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
There's a soul food restaurant over fried chicken and pork chops and whatever right over there. They're not just selling, to one aspect of our community. They're selling to the whole
To
thing.
everyone.
We have Mexican restaurants up.
That's
They're
right.
not just selling to one.
That's
We
right.
have you have, everybody participates.
That's right.
And so I think Brazilians have recognized, rightfully so, that this is a community that is used to seeing people that are not like them.
Yeah. You know, we have a way of, I don't know if just that's how politics are created, because the more you divide and split the pie into labeling people, you know, the more attention you get.
Mm-hmm.
But once you drill down to the core,
Mm-hmm.
we are all citizens of Goose Creek.
So I tell people all the time, those national issues, right? The presidential campaign and all the right and the left all yelling back and forth, don't bring that here.
Yeah.
We don't need that here, because Democrats need their water to be clean.
That's right.
Just like Republicans.
That's right.
They all want their trash picked up in a
right.
timely manner. That's not here. We are about a community of people living within proximity to one another. That's what a city is. A lot of people that live near one another.
Yep.
That's what we are. And we don't do Democrat and Republican and divisiveness. Police, fire, water, sanitation, recreation. Back to your point, you're asking about, economic opportunity and the like.
Yeah.
And we have, as I know Rob Wiggins, our economic development director, and before him, Matt Brady. We embraced sort of that low country, local first organization and the training that we have participated in and that I've spoken at those events as well. And it's entrepreneurial training, giving people the tools to go and open a business. And I'm sure you've seen, or you may not have, but those classes, again, reflect our community.
Yeah.
They are white, they are black,
That's right.
They are Brazilian, they are all of those things. And there are a lot of the Brazilian population here has gone through those.
Yeah. No,
I've met a lot of those folks through those programs, and we participate there. We host those, again, trying to create and make sure people have the tools to be successful.
Do you feel like, and I know that this is probably true, but I just wanted to gauge your perspective. The lack of understanding because of the language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's an issue, and I wonder if there is any way we can work together
Mm-hmm.
to better that communication in our local, city limits.
Yeah, so Trident United Way has a service center, and they do offer ESL classes, which are English as a second language. Mm-hmm. And so those things are available. For a minute, unfortunately, she's not with us anymore, but one of our cops officers spoke Portuguese. And so that helped us a long way. I would actually say that the bigger issue in business, I'm sure that there are some language barriers that may cause an issue with law enforcement or in fire safety if people aren't understanding as you're trying to communicate in those sort of more tense, Now, our folks, while they may not speak Portuguese or they're trained to understand these are high tense issues. We have a language barrier. Let's see how we can work out. But those could cause some problems. I don't know, and you could speak to this better than me, probably, Clacy. I don't know that the language barrier is the biggest issue when you're talking about entrepreneurism or being or opening a business or having success, because there's enough interpretation.
Yeah,
I think that some of it is just understanding. Is us being able to communicate effectively what the procedures are, what are the laws and the rules and the regulations that may not exist in Brazil. I don't, and they may not exist in Mexico or Brazil or France or Italy or any other country. I don't know. But here we have a lot of rules and regulations. And so I think the bigger issue is probably cultural rather than language, because, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong, because again, I think we have enough people to interpret. Yeah. And now, as I said, you've been a great conduit to get some of this information. So it's really just trying to communicate those things. Is the language a problem to communicate those things? Yeah, I mean it is. But again, that's what we have low country, local first. That's what we have these training programs. That's what Rob's job is a lot to try to get that information out. So I would say that it's less language in business and more cultural, more legal, which can be language too. But you understand what I'm saying.
And you guys have done a good job as far as trying to engage the community, providing training.
We've tried.
Yeah, and more. We actually I'm in the process of even talking to Rob to continue developing other opportunities of training and letting them know there are those, whether they're Brazilians or any other nationality, that they really want to take advantage of the system.
Sure.
So there are always those.
Sure.
But I believe that the majority, they really want to do it right.
Well,
and they just need to know exactly the way they need to do it and create expectations according to that information.
That's right. I believe strongly there is no greater economy in the world than the economy in the United States of America. And we are a microcosm of that here in the city of Goose Creek.
That's right.
We may have rules and regulations that make it a real pain to do. But running a private business myself, I know that if you do it right, you can be successful. It is still up to you as the individual, as the person running the business or working at the business. The success or failure of that business is still on its owner and its employees. We need to help people get through the process. And I think that people recognize that if you get through the process and you do it the right way, your opportunities for success are great. And then it's on you, not on somebody else trying to help you or whatever else. But that process can be a difficult one to navigate when there is a language barrier, when there is a culture barrier, when there's all those things. And that's why we've tried to do the things that we've done.
I have so many questions, and as you were answering the questions, my mind's going 100 miles an hour because I really want to maximize as much as of your time and knowledge. But let me pick your brain on being a business owner. Where do you see, and I'm going to broaden the question not just to Brazilians, but Hispanics in general. As a business owner, where do you see this new immigration or these new citizens of Goose Creek, people that chose to live here, fitting in? What are the opportunities that you see for those people to fill in, come into the workforce, come in to really contribute to the growth that we're seeing and to our community as a whole?
That's a multi-layered question.
Yeah, I know.
Because you have documented, you have undocumented, you have all of those things, and that is a multi-layered question. And I will go back as I answer. As a business owner, I certainly want the opportunity to hire folks who want to work. And our company has seen success in hiring people as a laborer who have become an operator, then a driver, and then they've gone on to buy their own truck and have their own business themselves. So we believe in our business that we can be an opportunity for people to just want to come and want to work and want to make money so that they can go to the next thing. I believe strongly in the role, whether it's in our business or at our city or in your business, whatever, that as the manager, it is our responsibility to prepare our employees for their next opportunity. And that next opportunity might be with our company or it might be somebody else.
Right.
But if you do that and you grow that person, you're going to have a much better employee while you have them.
That's right.
So how does this immigration population fit into this? Well, that's hard because if they're documented, it's easy, right? If they're documented, it's very easy. If they're here and they're eligible to work, there's a lot of places to hire. There's a lot of places you can open a business. There's a lot of places you can do that. We're not equipped at the city. There are immigration services that, again, I don't want to make it sound like like everybody that's undocumented or everybody that is here illegally necessarily came here illegally. Most did not. A lot of folks, particularly in our Brazilian population, came here on a visa, came here, legally, and what has often been the case is they overstayed it.
Right.
We can speak bluntly and frankly. That's as often as the case. They have overstayed that visa, and then now they are here in a way that's not legal. We, as the city of Goose Creek, are not really equipped. Again, police, fire, water, sanitation, recreation,
Keep it to the basic.
And this is a new phenomenon that we have now had to think about.
Yeah.
And so through some other volunteer organizations related to the United Way and some others, there are some immigration services that people can go and get. And there are immigration lawyers, that can take someone who has overstayed their visa or overstayed and help them get to a status that is legal. I think that the immigration question is a very difficult one that I can't solve as the mayor of the city of Goose Creek, right? But we have a population of people who are contributing, who are not criminals, who are not causing issues. They have jobs. They support the economy. They do all of those things. And they came here legally. There are ways for them to try to get an adjustment of status, or the like is what it's called. It's an adjustment of status where you can actually figure out a way to get here legally. I'm not the expert on it. Not going to pretend to be, and we aren't. But I do know that there are services to do that. And the more that take a proactive attitude about, okay, either I'm going to live in the shadows forever, or I'm going to go and talk to somebody about, can I get my status adjusted? I think the more people that do that, the more people will be supported by the community with jobs and opportunities. And the more that every immigrant population can show there's a reason we came to America, right? I still believe that we're the place that people want to come for a better life. And they're still doing it. So,
There's only one reason that people still come here. Even as a citizen myself, every time I fly back into the States, I'm like, man, it's so good to be home.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's great to go to any other places.
Sure.
Europe, Latin America, you name it. But coming back home, there's no place
I
home.
have never been to Brazil. Maybe one day I will go.
We got to go together.
There you go.
That would be great.
I have been to Europe, and I've been to Europe recently. And as much as we enjoyed the trip, when I got home, I still realized how much better we have it here than everywhere else in the world. Am I an arrogant American? Maybe I am. But every place has their positives, and every place has their negatives, and we have ours.
So true.
But I've been to a lot of places, like you, and I land back in the United States, and I'm like, it's pretty good. And there's a reason people are still coming here, and
we want to keep it that way.
Yeah, it amazes me. Again, I don't want to get too political, but it amazes me the opposition to immigration that people have. And they'll say, well, I just want it all to be legal. Well, so do I. I mean, I get it. But that's not what a lot of folks mean. They just, they want to close everything and not let anybody in. And I think the answers, well, I'll get a little political. The answers are, yes, we need people to enter legally. Yeah. But we need an avenue for them to enter legally that makes sense.
That makes sense.
That allows them to come. That doesn't hold everything up. We need that avenue, because if we're going to be, and we still are, the great land of opportunity, if you go back historically in the United States, it's the last immigrant population that did the hardest jobs.
Yeah.
Everybody came, and it didn't matter what your race was or where you came from. It was the Irish and the Italians and the Hispanics and the Brazil. I mean, whenever the last group that came was like, well, I need a job. And it's going to be the hardest one I can get. Because the people who have already been here and established themselves and made a better life, they don't do those jobs anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the people who are like, well, I don't want any more. Well, who's going to do all the hard jobs? Yeah. And I don't mean that. I don't say that lightly. I say that that's how we're built.
Yeah.
We're built based. This is a country that was only established by immigration.
Yeah.
That's how every one of us got here, was immigration. And so we have to embrace that. You've traveled a lot internationally, and I would challenge you to find another country that has as much going on, maybe outside of China. China's reliance on the Western world for their, is pretty well documented. Enough development and growth and strengthened economy and all that anywhere. My family and I were in Italy in the fall. There's nothing going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
I loved being there. I enjoyed it. There wasn't a crane anywhere. There's no new building being built in Italy. There's no growth of an economy in Italy. It is a stagnant country.
Yeah.
They have, these things.
To your point, if you're not growing,
That's a problem.
Yeah. So we have to keep on growing.
And,
for sure.
and Americans are having less children. So if you're having less children, where is our growth going to come from? Who's going to do the jobs?
That's right.
So again, I think, again, to answer the hot political issue.
It's a very political question. But let's change the subject a little bit. I know we're coming to the conclusion of our. We could stay here.
I can do it all night.
We can talk about this all day long. But let me ask you this to a more specific question. One of the things that we find challenging from the community perspective, and tying into the language part of it, and I think if you could address that, speaking directly to the community would be really important. It's if they're pulled over by a cop, or if they got a ticket and they need to show up in court. There are laws, there are certain procedures and ways that you have to do it. You cannot skip those. Looking from the law and order perspective, what would you recommend for the community to engage into those and be more respectful and at the same time not afraid?
Sure.
But cooperate.
And that was our goal with our community policing efforts, and that was our goal with hiring the Portuguese-speaking officer. And we still want to go back and find another person to continue to do that, because we found success with that.
Maybe we can find somebody through this.
Absolutely. It is essentially communication, right? Our officers are there to help. Our officers are there to help, and our officers are very highly trained, and they are there to help. They are also there to keep people safe, and safety is on the roadways as well. So if you're driving a vehicle that has, that doesn't meet a standard, or if you're driving too fast, or you're driving, one way or another, then our officers are going to address that with you. But they're always going to be respectful. So if you get pulled over again, I don't know the exact thing of how to tell people to be comfortable, because you can't tell people how to feel. I only want to ensure anybody in our town that gets pulled over that our officers are professional. They are there to keep people safe, and they are there to help people. And if they pulled you over, chances are you might have been speeding, or you might have broken a law somehow, and they're going to address that with you. You do need to come to court. We're not trying to ruin anyone's life. We're not trying. Well, you don't actually have to come to court, I don't guess. You can just pay the ticket.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I'll just pay it and move on with my life. Right. I mean, that's an option. But, but again, sometimes if you have to come to court, what I encourage people to do is do not hide from the situation. If there's a language barrier, come tell us there's a language barrier. Come let somebody know, hey, I want to talk to somebody about this, but my English isn't good. We'll find somebody that can have a conversation. We do want to be of service to people. I don't have a great answer for that, Glacy, other than I want to I want people to be assured that our officers are highly trained. Our officers care about our community. Our officers care about safety. And our officers are going to enforce the law, because the law is there to keep people safe. I hope that we can continue to communicate to all of our citizens, English speaking or non, that our officers are going to act in as professional a manner as there is.
This would be just one last question. If the community, Brazilians, regular English speaking, non-English speaking, they have suggestions or they have questions, what's the best way that we can get those questions some attention, whether it's you personally or somebody that actually oversees that? So what's the best way to do that?
I mean, we do community policing events for different neighborhoods and the like, where our officers will show up and offer information and give people the opportunity to communicate. We can certainly do that for a Portuguese speaking population, again, provided we have appropriate interpretation.
Of course.
But there's also one of our council members is working with some of the folks in the Brazilian community about a Brazilian council of people that and giving them, having them coordinate the voice and then sharing that information with me.
Yeah.
I always tell folks, if you go to the city website, my email is on there. And it sounds like it's dispassionate or it sounds separated when I say send me an email.
Yeah.
But that's the easiest way and best way.
Right.
Especially if we have a language barrier, because I don't speak Portuguese.
So actually that email comes to you?
Directly to me.
Okay. So if
Directly
you
to me.
have a question, if you have a comment,
Sure.
if you would like to talk to the mayor, go to the city website.
Yep. And just find the mayor.
Find mayor.
It's ghabib at cityofgoosecreek.com, but it's on there and it goes directly to me.
That's
I don't have anybody screening my emails or anything like that. They
That's
go
awesome.
directly to me. And so, again, they can also, if there's a concern, we can, we can coordinate whether it's fire information or police information, or like Rob does already.
Yeah.
With economic development, we have these communication pathways that exist now between the municipality and the Brazilian community, and we can use the ones that exist to say, hey, there's some questions about how we go about this relative to the police department. Again, we can engage our police department. They'll always come and talk about those things.
That's perfect.
How do we do, if we're worried about people understanding fire alarms or anything, we can get our fire department out there. And talk about fire safety and the like, or again any number of things. But we're happy to answer any question that we can in any way.
Well, we really appreciate your time.
All good,
man. This has been such a great conversation.
Thanks for having me.
I just would like you to share, if you don't mind, your final thoughts, a final message to the community. Where do you see Goose Creek going? Where do you see the population, and what would you like to see happen from the perspective of the community working together with the city and yourself? Just your final thoughts.
Well, I see us continuing to grow in a way that makes sense. I want to qualify that when I say, obviously, in the neighborhood, you and I live in the same neighborhood, Glacier.
That's right.
So we know there's still 3,000 homes to be built in our neighborhood.
A lot of people put it in.
So we're still obviously going to continue to grow, and you've seen the commercial growth. So we're going to continue to grow, and the efforts of our municipal government are still going to be to ensure that growth enhances our quality of life. I want everyone in our community, particularly in this case our Brazilian community, to recognize their value here. Everybody has value in our community. And I want to leverage that. We talked earlier, and I've talked briefly, we've got so many things going on in recreation.
Yeah.
I still want to see a Brazilian festival on Red Bank Road. I want us to close off each end somewhere around there. You and I talked about it. I still want to see that. And one day we will. There's some things we got to do about traffic down there and some rerouting. One day we will leverage that into a festival. I've always said if some of these small towns can have these great festivals, and that's, there's a small town in South Carolina called Sally. They have a festival every year. The population of Sally is about 500 or 600 people.
What?
40,000 people go to this festival every year. And I keep saying, if they can have that festival, surely the city of Goose Creek can have a Brazilian festival that everybody will want to come and be a part of. And
absolutely.
So we want to leverage that relationship and that culture in a way that makes a lot of sense. So I want people to know that they are part of this community, and that we are a community, as I said earlier, that the folks who have lived here in the time that I've lived here are used to seeing people and talking to people and engaging people who are not like them, who are a different color, come from a different culture, speak a different language, speak with a different dialect or accent. We have all done that our whole lives. And so we embrace that. And so we have the farmers market over on Central Creek. We need some Brazilian folks to come and participate in that. And we need these cultures to interact and interchange and learn from one another and the like.
I agree.
And so we continue to work on those things. Our goals are to raise the quality of life of the people who live here, and that's going to remain our goals as long as I'm the mayor. And you do that through creating an environment where folks are comfortable to try, to be an entrepreneur. They're comfortable to talk to their neighbor. They're comfortable to go and participate in an event, and they're proud of where they live. And so those are the things that we're trying to create, and our Brazilian community certainly is a huge part of those efforts.
Thank you for your service. Thank you so
Lacey.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you just heard from the mayor of Goose Creek. We're so excited. But don't forget to follow our channel, the LatinCast on YouTube and at LatinCast on Instagram. We would love for you to be part of the channel, share with your friends, your family. We want to get the message out. Whether you're Brazilian or not, LatinCast is your community here in the States. We love you. We'll see you next time.